Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Ray, and in today's video we'll be talking about all the books that I've read so far in February. As of right now, it's mid-Feb and I've read about 8 books, and so far there's been 1 5 stars, 1 4 stars, 2 3 stars, 3 2 stars, and unfortunately 1 that has not been rated. The first book that I'll be talking about is called Mr. Right Across the Street by Catherine Freeman. This book I've rated 2 stars. This story is about Mia and Luke. Mia moved across from down south all the way to Manchester, which is in the northwest of England, and she wanted to have a new chapter in her life after a recent trauma. Luke is a pub owner, and Mia one day visited his pub and struck a conversation with him, and they have such a good chemistry together. I rated this book 2 stars because I didn't really like the chemistry between the two of them. Although it's a sweet book, the way she pursued him is quite, I guess, teenage-like rather than an adult romance that I thought this book would be, because this book is labeled as adult romance, so I thought that they would pursue it as such. I think the story would be better suited if the characters were a bit younger in age. The next book I would thank Goodreads to recommend is for a Valentine's Day event, I guess, and this book is called The Lady's Guide to Mischief and Mayhem by Mandy Collins. I've rated this book 5 stars, and that's the only 5 star out of the 8 books that I've read so far. I guess I'm still in the hype of Bridgerton and his Regency romance books, and this book has the romance and also the murder mystery that I love. I think there's need to be a certain balance of murder mystery and the romance itself for it to be 5 stars. This story is about Catherine and Andrew. Catherine is a widow, but also she's a newspaper owner. So she and her friend writes the newspaper for ladies. Since at that time, women are to be believed lighthearted and cannot handle such a heavy topic such as murder, and in the contrary, they believe otherwise. That's why they published these newspapers. And because one of the published articles, our main hero Andrew got let go from the case that he was trying to solve, and them two met each other in somewhere up north of England as well, I think, and they have to solve this murder case together, even though Andrew reluctantly have Catherine with him. He still believes that she's too faint-hearted to solve this with him, but she's very adamant. And I like our girl Catherine because girl can do anything, and I think that girl power in historical romance is my weakness, period. I finished this book so quickly, and unfortunately they still have not published the second book, and this is supposed to be a series, I think, and I'm looking forward to the next book. And I hope if you guys have any recommendation about murder mystery and romance books, you mention it down below, because I need another murder mystery romance like there's no tomorrow. And then the next books I've read is called Sure Thing and Plan B, and both are from Jana Aston. In Sure Thing, which is the first book of the series, our girl Violet swapped her identity with her twin sister Daisy, take up her job as a tour guide in a bus tour across the US. But their personality is very different, and the main guy of this book, called Jennings, is British, and they had a little bit of entanglement, I'd say, before she started her job, and she found out awkwardly in the first day that he is in this tour with his grandmother. things get a little awkward, but things also get a little heated. When the guy found out that she's not Daisy, then things go a little messy and things get a little bit chaotic. I give this book 2 stars because I like accents, but it really irritates me when it's really emphasized that she really have a thing for accents, like British accents, because I live in Britain and I don't think that anybody speaks like that, speaks like Jenny. I don't know, unless it's for comedy, but the way he speaks really irritates me after the 3rd time he called her love. Like, oh my god, it's just burns my eyeball. And then the second book is called Plan B, and the story is on Daisy's perspective, Violet's twin sister, the more adventurous person, I'd say. As Violet is doing Daisy's job as a tour guide, Daisy's in this book is trying to find her baby daddy, I guess. I don't know if that's a spoiler or not, but that's the main thing of this book, is basically her relationship with her baby daddy. And the introduction of this book was really hilarious. I think that scene take the cake for introduction in this couple of books. Although this book I think is better because there's no Jennings, or barely any Jennings in it. I think her insecurities get to me because she got pregnant accidentally, obviously, and she said it's like, okay, I don't need new men and I can raise it myself. But Kyle said, no, I can help you with it and I think we can work on this together. It's sweet, but it's just not, like, it's too smooth. There's no really adventure, there's no really spice, which I thought Daisy would have as a person, because that's what Violet would describe her as, like the more adventurous type, the more wild side, I guess. And that there were 2 stars for me. I think without the introduction I would give it 1 star, but because of the introduction scene I give it 2 stars. Another contemporary romance that I've read is called The Invitation by Vi Keelan. And in this book, we got a perfumer and we also got I guess investor, a capital venture person. And in this book, Stella, our main girl, crashed his sister's wedding, and he found out about it pretty quickly because I thought that she could get away with it. The story is a little bit like Cinderella and her glass slipper, where like she crashed a ball. And however, in contrast to Cinderella, this girl Stella, she didn't get away with it. She got challenged to do public speaking on Hudson, our main guy's sister's wedding. And the matter of fact, the sister is the one that encouraged Stella to propose for venture capital from Hudson, even though like I think that there's a little bit of workplace kind of romance thing going on. I don't know, this book I think is another 2 stars for me. There's a lot of business jargon in there, but the romance itself, I think there's too much fillers in the middle, where she said it's like, oh, it's against like my working and relationship policy to have relationship with the boss. But I think they can actually cut this tension, I guess, in half, as in like delete it, not as in too tense, as in crop it away. So those are the reason why I voted this as 2 stars. And the romance itself is a little bland. I think it's like too much angst, but not really action. The next book is the one that I truly thought that could be another 5-star. However, it's just the fact that the main thing of this story goes against what I believe in. I think it's just a hard pass for me, and I think consent is really the most important thing in any relationship. And the book mentioned about the bully romance theme in the start of the book, so I guess I should be prepared for it, but curious to kill the cat, I guess. So I kept read this book, and I thought that I rated this book with no stars, the first no stars of the month, because of the whole consent thing. And the story is about Truly and Noah. So Truly broke up with her boyfriend at her graduation, like one of the worst days to have a breakup from. And she went to a party to celebrate because of her best friend, and she met Noah there. And this is what pains me, because Noah did the most unforgivable thing a guy could ever do on non-consent action. I don't know why this other thing that like somebody can forget about it, especially in this modern age of like 20th century. She was supposed to have a road trip across America with her best friend based after her mom's book, where she did travel across America before they both go to university. And instead, Noah and her best friend's boyfriend crashed the trip. And I thought, girl, you need to call the police wherever you go or wherever he's nearby, because this relationship is toxic, and they know that it's toxic. I think it's Stockholm syndrome, because how could you bear with whatever he's done, and then when he's in contact with other girls you felt jealous? Girl, you should run the other way. I think it's just so disappointing, because I really like the way she writes, and I really like the prospect of Truly as a character. It's just the fact that the guy she's ended up with is but yeah, I'm really sad to rate this book as a no star. I think it's really rare. It's as rare as a 5-star. I rarely ever vote a book as a no star, which is sad. So I hope her other books is not like this, because I'm thinking of reading her, like Carmel Road's other books. But if it's like this, sadly, I think this will be my last. And finally, my recent reads are from the paranormal romance section, and it's called the Night Prince series by Janine Frost. Originally, I wanted to actually read about werewolves, but I couldn't really find anything that I haven't read, so I ended up reading this book. I think I've read Janine Frost's Cat and Bones books, a couple of them I think, but I haven't read about Flats and Layla, and I think I quite like this book. I rated Once Burned, the first book of this series, 4 stars. It was really enjoyable. I read it so quickly, and this book is just the introduction from how Layla found Flat. So Layla got kidnapped by this group of vampires, and she was supposed to be the bait to catch Flat, because he did something to one of their friends, I guess, and Flat, like the stereotypical vampire, the Dracula, apparently lived in Romania. So this book has a lot of things. It's got the wittiness, it got the comedy, it got the romance, obviously. But I quite enjoy the fact that Layla is not this like soft, helpless girl that usually is in this kind of paranormal books. She's quite kick-ass. She's independent. Despite her being kidnapped, she's trying to fight for her life. She's like, you know what? It's like, I'll do the next best thing that makes sure that I'll survive the next day and stuff like that. I might have a little thing about the second lead guy because he was so sweet. But obviously, this book series is about Vlad and Layla. And the first book left me in such a mood of like, I want more, I want more, I want so much more. So I literally went to the next book, the second book. In the second book, we found out that the villain from the first book didn't get killed, and in fact, he recruited some of Vlad's past close friends and allies, I'd say. This kind of made Vlad's relationship with Leela a little tense, especially with how Leela and Vlad's relationship already tense after she's doubting his faith. She's doubting his love for her, basically. We go through the adventure of finding out who is trying to kill Layla again. Not like in the first book, she's not attempted to be murdered, but the second book, she'll literally have another killer on the run somewhere trying to kill her again. This book, I rated 3 stars. I think this book is more on the romantic side. Layla always mentioning, oh, like he doesn't love me, or we're never gonna have a future together. And all this while she's running for her life, basically, whilst there's murderers trying to kill her. I mean, girl, we're in a life and death situation, and all you can think of is how much Vlad's loving you. And there's this second lead is willing to die for her, and she's still longing for Vlad. So this book left in a cliffhanger, and I am trying to start the 3rd book in the series as of this recording. So I think I will include the 3rd book and the 4th, so on the second part of February wrap-ups. So thank you for watching, and see you next time.